I understand it, you originally were auditioning for another role as well, and ended up with Riff. So talk about that process.
I was under contract at MGM Studios at the time, and they let me go and audition for the part of Tony. And I auditioned for that part and was up for it for as long as for a long time. And luckily, I had the same agent as Robert Wise. So I used to check with him constantly to find out, how it was going to do the part of Tony. And I really, really wanted to do that part. And he finally said, well, it's down between, you and another actor. And then finally he said, well, Richard Beamer got the part, but they've offered you the part of Riff. And I said, Riff? And I said, that's like a really hardcore dancing part. And and he said, well, you want to do it or not? I said, yes! So that's...
So you were more of a gymnast, though, rather than a dancer, right?
I was a gymnast more than a dancer. And oddly enough, when I came to the office to meet Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins when I came in, the first thing that Jerome Robbins said to me, he says, now, Russ, you've tumbled in all these movies, Tom Thumb and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. You've done you've always done all this acrobatic dancing. But I have to tell you, there's no acrobats in this. There'll be no acrobatic dancing. This is straight dancing. And I said, okay, I will do my best. And so I worked really hard at it. Luckily, when Mr. Robbins was released from the movie, Tony Mordente took over, and he was one of the assistants, and he took over, and in the dance hall, he said, let's put some tumbling in. So I got to do some tumbling. And not only that, but later on, this is kind of a funny story, later on they had a show at Pantages, and it was also in New York, I guess, called Jerome Robbins Broadway. And it was a whole bunch of numbers from different shows that Jerry had done. And one of the numbers was a West Side Story number. And the dancer who was playing Riff in it, in the number, did a flip. And I knew that Jerry had choreographed it. So I couldn't wait to get backstage afterwards and meet him and say, how were you able to do some flips in that? And he said, oh, that was part of the audition. So I give myself a pat on the back.
So you may all want to chime in on this. I want to talk to Maria too, but I want to ask you guys, you're sitting here 55 years later and you're seeing, West Side Story is like you can't escape it if you want to. There's a really part of your lives. What are the things that about West Side Story that you most are proud of, or that you see reflected in the way people feel about it? What are the things that make you proud of this project?
The message of this picture. I am still proud of it, and I'm still hopeful that people, and there are loads of people that are still seeing this picture on television, that they will learn something from it.
The prejudice, one of the main things that you deal with very strongly in the movie, and prejudice is alive and well, as we all know, just within the last every day. So I think just on that particular topic alone, everybody can identify with that. And also the young people who can't do what they want to do because they're held back by that prejudice. And one of the things I love about I think about this from time to time, and I thought about Maria. She's a very strong character. And she says, you've got to stop the fight. No, it isn't good for us. It isn't good for us. No one else thinks that, but she does. Anyway, sorry, there's more of it. But anyways, it's prejudice, which is, as we all know, is alive and well, and that's too bad. But there it is.
I think that one of the things is, if you look up records of so many big stars in Hollywood, there are very few that have been able to do a really classic movie. And this was a classic film that I feel so lucky, and I'm sure George does too. I'm sure we all do. Of course, Walter's made so many classics, but all of us you know, to do such a classic film as West Side Story, I mean, we got our hands and footprints in cement at Grumman's Chinese, you know, and to do that is, it was just pretty amazing to do a film like that was such a classic and had such incredibly great talent behind it. You know, when you go Robert Wise, I've made speeches for him where I've said, if this man never directed a movie, and he directed so many great movies, he still would have gone down in the annals of movie history just because he edited a little film called Citizen Kane. You know, he was one of the editors. And you had Jerome Robbins, who